Yo, what's good, everybody? It's your boy Steph from the Hot Moving Podcast, and today we're going to talk about Dwayne Wade. So please like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. So let's get moving. So Dwayne Wade, is going through an issue with his ex-wife, and the issue is that his ex-wife has filed court documents to block Dwayne Wade's son, who goes by Zaya and wants to identify as female, from changing his child's gender and changing her name or his name. And this raised the question of where do parents stand when it comes to a situation like this, right? Especially when both parents are not in agreement with a child who's a minor. Dwayne Wade, their child is only Zaya is only 15 years old. So, where do parents stand in the situation, and who's in the wrong and who's in the right when dealing with a minor who wants to go through a transition gender change, right? Um, over the last few years, definitely, society has changed. Society is slowly adapting and becoming more acceptive of transgender people, or at least the LGBTQ community. We still have a long ways to go. Not everybody's going to be in agreement with that. And I think that's fine because not we can't we're not in a society where we agree on everything. Even some of the most heinous things that we know is wrong, people are still they're still going to be opposing views to it, whether we like it or not. And in this case, Dwayne Wade's ex-wife feels that them, really being supportive. When I mean them, and Dwayne Wade and his wife Gabrielle Union, they've been very publicly supportive of Zaya's transitioning or wanting to identify as a female. Dwayne Wade's ex-wife feels that um, they're trying to benefit from this. There's like opportunities to gain from this. In her court filing, she alluded to working with companies, through Zaya, um, and she doesn't want that. And as a society, I mean, it raises a question of when it comes to a situation like this, you know, where do the parents stand? Are the courts going to parent our kids? Are we going to let society parent our kids, or at least our youth? Especially when it comes to a situation like this where you have a 15-year-old who wants to go through a gender transition and both parents aren't in agreement and one parent um, doesn't want to allow it. Is Dwayne Wade's ex-wife wrong for this? Um, I don't think she is. And it's not for being anti-transgender or LGBTQ and wanting your child to live their truth. Um, I mean, when the child is under 18 years old, they're not an adult yet, and they want to go through a drastic change like this. Um, I think I think it's well within the parents' rights to have reservations and to not allow it at this current juncture. Like if your child wants to identify as a female and go by a different name, that's fine. But when you talk about legal changes and going through procedures to do your gender reassignment, that's a big deal. In society we don't really talk too much about the flip side of it, right? A lot of the people who did a gender change and as they got older had regrets, right? We don't know how many of those people are out there, and where the stories, I'm sure it's probably out there, but it's not really talked about enough. It's push, push, push to you know be who you want to be, identify who you want to be with. Um, but we don't talk about the negative effects of the ones who made decisions early, especially when they were young, and as they get older, as their brain develops, as their brain matures, um, they may have regrets, right? I'm not saying all of them, but I'm sure, just a numbers game, just the odds. I'm sure there's a few. What about them? I'm not saying that Dwayne Wade's child's eye is gonna have those thoughts or may have regrets, but I mean that possibility could be there. So, as a parent, why wouldn't you want to kind of get ahead of that and just kind of slow things down? Obviously when their child is 18 years old, um, then their child is free to make whatever decision, and go through whatever procedures they want to, right? But I think that Dwayne Wade's ex-wife is going to get a lot of blowback from the left, the LGBTQ community. Um, they're going to probably label her as, anti-transgender and, all this other stuff. And I don't think it's fair. I mean, we've stripped parents from making decisions in the household so much that we let media decide for us. Kids are growing up faster than ever in this day and age, just with the access to information and just the resources that are out there and everything like that. Children are being treated as adults. And at some point, parents or parent has to put their foot down, and in a way kind of, you know, protect their child when they may not see it. And it's not like, when I say protect, I mean it's not like, you're not allowed to be a boy or a man, or, I'm gonna stop you from that. It's more so of like, for now, I am not comfortable you making a big decision when you're a minor and, your brain isn't mature enough yet to go through with it, right? Because it seems like on Dwayne Wade's camp, Gabrielle Union and him, they've really been on board, with this. They've been very supportive, of Zaya going through with this and everything like that, with the transition and the gender change, and wanting to, identify as a female, and letting their child live their truth, right? Um, and I'm not knocking them, but I mean, I think that the way it was done, I mean, there's a lot of speculations that, and Dwayne Wade's ex-wife mentioned this in her court filing of like, they're doing this for, potential gain and stuff like that. And I mean, honestly, when all this was happening at the time, when Dwayne Wade's son was, coming out and wanted to identify as female, yeah, and Gabrielle Union definitely, they're very public about it. She was very overt with it, and it just seemed like, you know, she really wanted to make this public, and it just seemed like, is there an ulterior motive here? I mean, is there something that you're gaining from this, when doing this, and supporting Dwayne Wade's child, and wanting to identify as a female and to eventually become, full blown female? Like, and Dwayne Wade's ex-wife, has something to say about it. And, I don't think she should get a lot of criticism. I mean, I think that, she should allow to be a parent, and she should allow to be able to make the decisions, or be part of the decision making for a minor. But I mean, in the society we live in, she's gonna get labeled all kinds of things. She's gonna get labeled anti-LGBTQ and transgender, and I don't think that's fair. I think that she should be allowed to be a parent. She should allow to make her decisions. She should allow, if she doesn't agree with it, that's fine. Like, she doesn't have to agree with the transgender community for her minor child who wants to go through a full transition. So I just thought this was interesting, and see where it's gonna head, because, this is the first like public case, or at least this whole public situation since, for Black community, dealing with, in the LGBTQ, for a child that wants to go through a full transition. You see it in other communities, but, a situation like this is gonna be very interesting. I wonder, this. I wonder what kind of support, if any, if she's gonna get any, Dwayne Wade's ex-wife, for this. Probably not a lot, because, obviously, as time in the current times we are, it's, if you have any disagreement with the left side or the LGBTQ community, you're gonna be labeled all kinds of things. And the space and dialogue to have an open, conversation, especially when it relates to children, that are going through an identity change, or transgender change. That conversation, you don't hear too much about it. The child wants to go through a transgender change, and, the parents, if you have liberal parents or both parents are in agreements, they're going to go ahead and go through with it, right? Even they don't want to wait for the child to become, an adult, or fully mature, and make sure, like, hey, like, okay, this is what you're doing. Are you sure? Okay, we understand this you want to do, but let's just wait till you're 18 to go through with it. Nope. The child is vocal about it. The parents feel pressured to go through with it. Society's telling them that no, like, you need to let your child, go through the operation change, identify as a female, change her name, do all these different things. And it's just kind of like you have all these outside forces forcing a lot of parents, to have to like accept it, right? Instead of letting them make their own decisions internally, and let both parents, come to some kind of agreement. Or if both parents aren't on agreement, or one parent's on agreement, the other one is not, the other parent who doesn't agree shouldn't, get vilified, for wanting to, have a say in the decision making of their child who's a minor, right? We know Dwayne Wade is a public figure, Gabrielle Union, public figure. They have a bigger platform, so it's easy to garner sympathy and get the LGBT community on your side against your ex-wife. And it's like, your ex-wife. I mean, she's a woman. She's a part of this child's life, or was part of it at one point, and still wants to be a part of it at one point. But also, she feels that she has a leg to stand on for some of the decision making that's, as it pertains to their child still. I know they're in the spotlight, and they wave that rainbow flag and everything like that, and they're supporting their child, and that's fine. But for Dwayne Wade's ex-wife though, she's not on board. And just because she's not on board doesn't mean that she's anti-transgender LGBTQ. It's just the fact that, like, look, it's my child, and I don't think that it's appropriate, right now to make such big changes. So we'll see what happens from this, man. So, anyways, guys, thanks for listening. Please like, subscribe. I'm out.